Hi, and welcome to the Mountain Collective podcast.
I'm super happy today to have you, Martijn. Like we've had like so many conversations before, and you seem like a super, awesome dude. Just in personality, but also what you do on LinkedIn. You are doing a lot of, consulting, but also training for productivity. And I wanted to have a conversation with you because I saw one of your posts, which really grabbed my attention. And I wanted to know a little bit more about that. And I think also my audience is also very interested in, new ways of how do you actually communicate today in this world, especially with the overload of social media. There are like so many ways and so many platforms and so many. And LinkedIn for me, I'm just gonna be super honest. Like it's really where most of my biggest clients are coming from. So, for founders, for leaders, for even artists, this is a great platform, and you are doing a really great job there. So first and foremost, thank you so much for coming to the podcast.
Well, thank you, of course, because I'm really honored to be in your podcast. Because you contact me like, do you want to be in my podcast? Like, I'm not sure if I can swear on your podcast, but heck yeah, let's keep it there. Not sure what the Spotify, YouTube algorithm is going to do when we. All right, so let's leave that aside. But no, man. All kidding aside, super happy to be in your podcast, and I hope to be, that I can share a lot of valuable stuff for you and your audience, of course.
Yeah, man. So for the listeners, I can link this post on the description. But I wanted to know a little bit more about maybe we can lay the foundation for the listeners. Like why specifically LinkedIn is the chosen platform that you chose?
Good one. Well, it was funny. I start my trainings by saying I was giving LinkedIn trainings when Hives was still a thing, and only Dutch people that listen to this podcast understand that joke. So to make it international, when Twitter was still a cool place to go and you could have a lot of fun there, then I was already busy with LinkedIn. And back then, you're talking about 2011, 2012. LinkedIn was a platform that you only used when you needed a new job. And that's always what I got when I gave training. Like, okay, well, super happy that you're here, but we don't need a new job. So why are you giving us training? And back then, you could make the case for that. But by now, yes, you can still find a new job on LinkedIn, but the platform has grown so much. And I would even say that LinkedIn is not a social media channel per se. So yes, you can share content. Yes, you can create content, of course. Yes, you can comment. You can network there, just like you can do on Facebook or Instagram. But there is something different with LinkedIn. It's not only that it's more professional, more business-wise, but also you can get genuine business from LinkedIn. And that's really hard to do via Instagram or any of the other platforms. Of course, depending on what you do, if you sell business to consumer, Instagram's a great platform to go. But if you sell business to business, I wouldn't say that you don't need to use Instagram, but LinkedIn is much more efficient. And to be honest, I think my last post, I tried some things last week on Instagram. It was completely crap because I haven't been active on the platform for over 2 years. So I know a lot about LinkedIn, especially since I do this for 14 years. But I love the platform. I love the community. It's much more supporting, or at least that's what I see. It's much more supporting than many of the other platforms out there. So that's why I'm so active. And I met you, and I met you there, which is great.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting because exactly what you say. It's funny. Like if I compare LinkedIn with Facebook, I think a friend of mine a long time ago, like he posted on Facebook when Facebook was a thing, right?
Yes.
He posted that. Yeah, exactly. When it was still cool. Like he posted that, like, oh, look at this guy. This guy has tried to add me on Facebook, and then I added him back, and then he said to me, like, do you want to be friends? And I was like, bro, like Facebook is not for like friends that we don't know. It's for friends that we know. And LinkedIn is like it's the opposite. It's almost like you can. It's funny because you can create opportunities that way. And Instagram, on the other hand, I found that like every time I'm following some kind of interesting artists, because it's mostly for artists and 3D designers or whatever, or,
Yep.
visual or photographers. Every time I'm following them, I think my message will go to their spam, which is like the other side, like not general. So I don't think I've had a lot of success when it comes to having a real conversation with someone from Instagram. What are your thoughts? What's the reason that LinkedIn has such a it's so great? Like I really think it's a great thing. Like
Well, I think first of all, it's few things. I think the community, it's much harder. There are spam accounts there and fake accounts, but it's much harder to create one than on the other platforms, simply because when I go to your profile, I can directly see how many connections do you have. And if you're the CEO of a big company and you have 2 connections, well, maybe you're not. So that's number one. It's pretty easy for us to spot like, hey, this is a genuine profile or not. How was it built? This is also what I do in training and consulting. Like when you go online on LinkedIn, the first thing you need to fix is to make sure that your profile looks professional. And you decide, of course, what's professional, but there are some standards, I would say, on LinkedIn. When you go on LinkedIn and you put on sunglasses and like a weird beard and a weird head, that if you do it on Instagram, that's no problem. On LinkedIn, everybody's like, should you do that? On the other hand, some people think, you should wear a tie and like be quote unquote boring. No, that's not what you want as well. But I always say, would you dress up like this when you needed to go to a client for new business? That's the only question. And if you say like, well, yeah, this is how I dress up, oh, great, that's your profile picture. Same goes with the way that you talk or how you style your profile, but those are all the details. So first of all, it's the community, which is much more supporting, less spam, more supportive. When you go on Twitter and you post something, depending on what you post, but you get a lot of crap from sort of fake accounts, or X is called, of course, these days. Yes, that happens on LinkedIn as well, but 90% less. Yeah, almost nobody's going, what the... And if they do, most of it's more constructive. We can have a discussion. We can agree to disagree. That's no problem. I think in the last few years, especially since I've been active on the platform for so long, there is an enormous inflow of people that are generating content there, which you can discuss if that's a good idea. I think yes, and there's also, of course, some downsides on that. But it's getting a little bit less. But LinkedIn is still a platform where you can generate some, what would you say, organic reach instead of only paid. And I've seen that with Instagram, not being active on Instagram for 2 years, and back then getting some, it's not that much, but some interaction. And now I just posted some things that was like 1 like, and it was from my girlfriend. So, which I love, and thank you for that. But, it was really hard to get some traction there and to get some reach there. So I think those 2 things, of course, many other things, but those 2 things, a supportive community and getting some organic reach is one of the most important reasons why so many people are now so enthusiastic like you on LinkedIn.
It's so funny, man. Like I found it very interesting, especially like the image of having like for like when you see that meme of like 4 images or 4 profiles, like that we people have different hats for every platform. It's so interesting, man. I think people are just interested in general. So what would you say, like in terms of like if someone is super new to LinkedIn and want to like what would you say like there are the top 5 like not to do's?
But the not to do's, right? Those are fun. Well, first of all, start not to do. All right, let me. Don't start without a plan. So, when you look at my content of that of my colleague Richard van der Blom, or when you go to YouTube, there's tons of information out there on how to optimize your profile. Yes, you should have a profile picture, a headline, blah 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 blah. But the first thing I would suggest is start with a plan. Who are the people that you want to network with? and look at your profile from their perspective. So when I visit your profile and I'm like your ideal client, let's say you want to use it to grow your business. All right. So if I am your ideal client, what do I want to find on your profile? And what most people do, especially entrepreneurs, they have on their profile literally their name, and then below that it says owner.
Yeah.
Like you're the owner of Mountain Collective. What does that mean? Owner of what? Or trainer or podcaster or so. So it's not wrong, but LinkedIn by default says your job title, that's who you are. And well, you're much more than that.
Right.
So you want to start with a plan. And you need to think about like, okay, so if I would be the ideal client and I would visit this profile, what do I want to see? So you could include like, what kind of content are you going to share? Or, well, that. Number 2, don't start selling. So it's pretty funny. I'm giving, the term is called social selling. Like, how do you, don't cold pitch? Like, Murat, I had a look at your profile. It really sucks, but for $400, I can help you out. Like the direct pitch. Your profile doesn't suck, but
Hurts.
just to be on the record.
It first hurts, huh? Like it hurts my heart.
Yeah. No. It looks great. But you get the idea. Like the direct pitch. Don't do that. First, build the relationship, which is super important. Which is LinkedIn an incredible platform to do. So don't sell. Sure, you can promote your business there, but don't be like the person that's only trying to sell, and connect only to sell. That doesn't make sense. You want 3 more, right? Don't copy your content that you maybe use on TikTok or Instagram and just copy it directly on LinkedIn. I wouldn't do that as well. Every platform, you say it like the heads, every platform has their own nuances. So for example, if you use, and I'm not an Instagram expert, definitely not, but I know on Instagram, I think you can use 30 hashtags and it wouldn't be any problem, or at least to my understanding. If you do that on LinkedIn, your post is getting marked by LinkedIn as spam. So your reach will drop super low. So if you post your Instagram post directly on LinkedIn with all those kinds of software that you have for that, well, you actually hurt your reach. So I wouldn't do that. We need 2 more, right?
So in terms of having conversations with others, like in the DMs.
Yeah.
Like how would be like the best? Because I feel like fundamentally, like everything that you just said, like fundamentally, it just means that we are supposed to be like really just like decent human beings, right? Like if you are, right?
That's it. Yeah. Everybody's like really like, how should I behave on LinkedIn? Don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
Any questions? Like, but that's it. Like, how should I behave? Well, how do you behave in normal life? How do you talk normally to your clients? Just do that. Take that mentality. Go to LinkedIn and just start doing it there. So I always say to people who don't have a good understanding on LinkedIn, I always say, LinkedIn is like a business event. So let's say you go to a business event to talk about your business, to meet new people, to whatever you want, right? You wouldn't go to the CrossFit gym, work out for 2 hours, and completely sweaty go to your networking event for your business. You wouldn't do that. Or, getting really drunk and then go out there. Maybe at the end, at the after party, but let's leave that aside. So that's your profile. You want to make sure that your profile looks professional and it's a representation of you. And then if you look at it from that perspective, it's much easier to fill your profile with awesome stuff. And for some, it's really like strict and business and quote unquote, maybe a bit boring. For others, like creative people, of course, they can play around with it. But, right. Then second, for example, content, you don't go stand in the corner on a networking event and don't say anything to anybody. That wouldn't make sense. You go home like, did you have fun? Yeah. All right. Well, did you do some business? No. I didn't talk to anybody. Okay. Well, it's not wrong, but what are you doing at the networking event? So post content. On the other hand, you don't want to be the guy or the girl that's just handing out their business cards. I don't have business cards anymore, but some people, I didn't know, some people still have them. But hi Murat, nice to meet you. Well, I have to continue because I got a lot of other people to talk to. But here's my business card, here's my flyer, and here's my brochure. So if you need a LinkedIn training, let me know. All right, see you. You wouldn't do that, or at least I wouldn't recommend you. So don't do that on LinkedIn. If you only post about your services or products, why would I follow you? And the same for networking. If I want to build a relationship with you as one of my clients, well, maybe I should give you something up front. Maybe I should help you out with something or give you some really interesting content. So that's the way that I always say that's what you do on LinkedIn. But as you mentioned, I'm not talking about something like mind-blowing new here. This is just how we work in real life.
I think that's the thing. I think people, in terms of like when they have like a digital layer, they start to behave in a way that they think it's proper, or they think, like, for instance, like I heard like a lot of people, like a lot of famous people have, let's say if they post something on Twitter, on X, and like we have a lot of people that are trolling or whatever they're saying about posts. Most of these people, they say like we don't really have these interactions at the street. Like it's usually just on the digital layer, but never would someone come up to me and tell me that in my face. So I found that in between, like between the digital layer and reality, I found that so interesting. Like, do you have an idea like why people like even try to actually like behave in a different way? Are they being more comfortable, or is it more of an extra, like an extra layer of themselves, like being expressive on the digital space?
It's a good question. I cannot wrap my head around why would I, after a long day of work, go on X and then insult people. Like, I think you have to be really disappointed in life if you do that, but that's my opinion. That's what I love about LinkedIn, because of course there are some people out there, but if I have to be honest with you, I think I had that twice in 14 years. Posting. I have to work on my consistency on posting, but let's say I post 52 posts a year. So for let's make it easy, like 500 posts, I had like 2 interactions that were really like sort of hateful. Actually, this morning I deleted some spam, or at least that's what I think. That was the 3rd one. So somebody commented on my post with a link to their Fever account. I'm like, bro, no. I see that as spam. Some people don't, but 3, okay, let's say 5, but 5 interactions that I think are genuine, like bullying, sort of, and all the others aren't. That's what I love about LinkedIn, and hope it stays that way. But I think it's because it's much harder to create an anonymous account instead of on Instagram or X.
Yeah, definitely. I think LinkedIn is really like as you say, like the community is such a wonderful community, man. Like it's really good to. I think it also has to do a little bit with the maturity of the audience as well. Like most of it's not a TikTok audience; it's more of also not necessarily an Instagram audience, but LinkedIn is a really mature audience where they are there for a conversation. And usually, if I'm having a proper conversation with someone on LinkedIn, I expected it, for some reason I expected to go the right way. It's a really so for everyone who's listening who haven't converted yet to LinkedIn, because I know like a lot of people are like, bro, what do you mean LinkedIn? I have like 20K on Instagram. They're really like, yeah. They're like, shit. Like for my side, like I'm coming from the design industry and the artist industry. They don't really play around with it's mostly on YouTube or Instagram, but not necessarily on LinkedIn. But there is a lot of opportunity there to discover, and the more I'm spending time in creating content, talking to people and having connections, the better. Like for instance, like today I had you of course, but also like I was talking to another guy. Like I'm like, dude, like this is so nice. Like it's so great to find these precious people, because there is like a certain level of people where you can actually have a really good conversation with. And with others, like I'm like, yeah, I might not want to spend more, like I don't want to, I want to spend more time with people that I really connect with. And I think you can find that on LinkedIn. So, what are because there are a lot of changes, right? Like in terms of, the algorithm and on LinkedIn. What are the most, appealing changes for you that are happening, or features that are happening in the coming weeks, months?
That's a good question, because that's always a big surprise.
Right. Yeah.
So much fun. And I give a training to 15 people, like, hey, do you get this and this and this and more? I don't have that anymore. Like, and then LinkedIn changed something, or they added something.
Yeah,
so LinkedIn, if you're listening, please work on that, because you can do much better talking about new features. But well, maybe it's a good one to hit back to what you said, because some of your listeners, or many of your listeners, are still thinking like, should I use LinkedIn because YouTube or Instagram works better for me? And by all means, please do that. Also, realize that everything is borrowed ground. So when it comes to Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, it's all borrowed ground. So if LinkedIn tomorrow would say, well, Martijn, you're violating some rules or whatever, we're going to kick you off the platform, then I would have a problem. So always work also on your own website, newsletters and stuff like that. With that being said. Back to your question. New exciting features on LinkedIn. What you see, especially for the people that are maybe already a little bit more active for a longer time, what you see is that your organic reach goes down pretty quickly in the last 12 months. So where before, let's say you got 500 connections, you posted something, like around 250 people would see that. Now that's only 10% of your connections. So LinkedIn is now really, since there are more people on LinkedIn and also creating more content, of course, it's getting busier and busier in the newsfeed. So your organic reach will go down. So when it comes to LinkedIn right now, just a quick tip for all of those people listening, focus on the quality of your content. So make sure that you create 1 or 2 pieces of content a week. And if you cannot do that, then just create 1. But go for 1 quality piece. And again, of course, if you can create more, that's better. But create quality content and make sure that people start to engage with your content, because the more engagement you get, the more reach you will get. And of course, the more easy it will be to build some relationships on that. So that's what I would say is a really important factor on LinkedIn. What else is really interesting? LinkedIn makes it, that's an important one. LinkedIn now limits everybody that doesn't have a paid profile to a max of 10 connection requests a month that you can personalize. Yeah. So if I send out a connection request to somebody, I always personalize it. Like, hey, Murat, really great to meet you last night, or really great to meet you on the podcast, or whatever it is. I want to connect with you. LinkedIn is now limiting it to 10 if you don't have a paid account, which is, I think most of your users don't have, and they don't need to. So let's be clear on that. But if you want to expand your network with more people, what I would recommend is start to engage with people first. So you don't have a connection yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow you and I'm going to start engage with your content, because then you already seen me. And then in one of my comments, I could say, hey, maybe it's interesting to connect with each other. I'll send you a connection request, and then could just send it. So those 2 things are, especially for the sort of beginners, but also the more advanced users, are really important. Focus on quality content and engagement, and make sure that when you go networking, that you first start to build a relationship before you reach out.
Yeah, I had few of those occasions, like, to be completely honest with you, like, I had, like, when I'm very authentic, let's say, I know, like, the word have been used too many times, but I'm...
No, but it's okay.
Yeah. But when I'm transparent, or when I'm like doing, like, when I'm being like myself in the comments with someone, and I'm really like, oh, that's a really cool post, let me write something about it. And just by accident, there happen like there was some interactions that happens just out of that small spark where we are like, yeah, we are supposed to be friends, right? Like we are supposed to connect. And these like, to be completely honest with you, like I'm looking only for those. Like I'm not looking for 20,000,
No.
connections with which are not meaningful for me. So if I have like on a daily basis, because I'm quite heavy on LinkedIn, I'm really like sending a lot of I love LinkedIn, like just to be completely honest with you. But if I have like few of those on a daily basis, bro, like I'm good, man. Like it's like if you have like, let's say, 2 people that you meet every single day, that's
You have no idea. Yeah, you have no idea what it does for your network in a year.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And everybody's focused on the numbers.
yes, exactly. Everyone is focused on numbers, and I believe I'm more on genuine connection with people, and really like if we have a conversation, we both know like it's definitely not gonna work out. We just don't have to do it. But if the opposite happens, man, like that's I really live for that. But yeah, definitely I have that with you. Hopefully we can do maybe like part 2 for the listeners. For this
Part 3, part 4. Like,
yeah,
there's so much to talk about.
but
No, but you're absolutely right. And coming back to one thing about what you said, I always say likes and connections don't pay the bills. They're good, likes. I love likes. I love engagement. Heck yeah. It's good, dopamine shot, everybody's happy. But at the end of the day, that's not what's going to create your business. And yes, there is something to say because more likes and more engagement will get more reach and blah, 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 blah. But it's completely, the way that you do it is perfect. Like you are there to build a relationship. And if you connect with one person a week, that's really meaningful to you on a personal or a business level, and you do that every week, you have 52 people in your network in 1 year that can help you move forward in life. Like do that for 5 years. Like that, almost nobody has that. So that's exactly what I would advise people to do.
It's really unbelievable, like how powerful that be. But I think the underlying message here is to be proactive. I think like to be proactive to actually genuinely be part of, because people, I think like there is a percentage of people that still need to take care of themselves, like still need to do the less of the bad habits and more of the good habits. So like once you are on a level where you want actually to communicate, you are really proud of yourself to show up to people and talk to people and show them like, hey, this is me and this is how I am and this is how I behave in reality. I think of course you want to be on that fundamental level, but genuinely like it's LinkedIn really brings the best of like sometimes, so.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting for your audience, especially when you are creative and you have created something, you put your soul and your heart into it, and then you drop it on Facebook or Twitter, and some asshole comes along and goes, "Oh, that's crap," like. Well, first of all, let's not get into the details on that. I think something of that. The chances that happens on LinkedIn are pretty small. It could be that you don't get any engagement. Sure, but
yeah.
Who cares, And I see tons of posts that I'm like, why does this post only get 2 likes? It doesn't make sense because it's perfect. So don't worry, especially in the beginning, don't worry too much about that. But I think for your audience, especially when you put your heart and soul into that creative project and you show it on LinkedIn, I think it's a great place to do that. And then from there on, you can build your business if that's something you like. So yeah, I would definitely, if you're listening to this and you're new to this, definitely just start with that and don't overcomplicate. Create a nice profile, start posting once a week, and then just see what happens.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Martijn, I'm really, really grateful for today. Thank you so much for coming to the podcast.
We had way less time. There's so much to talk about. So let's do a part 2 maybe in the future. We're looking forward to that. Thank you so much for inviting me for your podcast. Hope this was helpful to you, of course, and to your listeners. And let's keep in contact, man. But I'm sure we will.